Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Major Applications Planning Committee. I'm Councillor Eddie Labour, the Committee Chairman. Can I do apologies for absence first, please?
We've got apologies from Councillor Edwards and Councillor Oswell, and Councillor Davis and Councillor Catra are substituting.
And as of this moment, we don't have Councillor Morgan, but we'll just work out about that in a minute. Any declarations on tonight's agenda? The minutes of 26th October, 11th of Jan are in the bundle. Councillor Higgins.
Yeah, I have a query on top of page, well, starts on page 2, finishes on page...
This is the Waterloo Wharf.
Yeah, this is the Waterloo Wharf proposal. I do remember us having a long debate about how we could best help and secure the boating, the business on the canal. And it doesn't seem to be in these minutes.
I certainly remember a long debate about the business, and to be honest, it's so long ago I don't remember exactly what we agreed, but there was certainly long. Could I therefore propose that those minutes are deferred so that officers can check the full record and come back? Because there's definitely a query, but I just don't know what the answer is.
I could just highlight that it was obviously that we were concerned that if the property, the flats were rented out and then they made a petition against the noise of the boating yard, that then it would affect the business of the boating yard, and obviously this is a business that there's not a lot of them left, and we don't really want that to be happening.
A matter of great concern to members at the time, and I know we wanted elements of it, so can I ask for the full record to be reviewed and for those to come back? Can I take the minutes of 11th of Jan as agreed? Yep, thank you very much. Okay, tonight's Major's agenda has 5 items on it. There are no petition items, so no speaking rights, so it's straightforward officer presentations. We are, of course, live on YouTube, so there may be the odd person who is watching us on there. Could I ask, as usual, please, that everybody speaks clearly into their microphones at the time that they are speaking, because obviously it's not captured otherwise. Apart from that, I will with item 6, which is Warrender Primary School, Old Hatch Manor, Ruislip, on page 11.
Thank you, Chair. This application seeks full planning permission for the provision of a new school building and associated works at Warrender Primary School in Eastcote. The proposals involve the provision of a new 2-storey classroom block comprising 8 classrooms and associated facilities, reconfiguration of the car park, and provision of a multi-users game area, in addition to removal of 2 existing modular buildings and ancillary works. That's the aerial photo of the site, so you can see the school buildings at the front there, with the existing playing field there. That's the existing layout of the site, so the grey area is the existing footprint of the buildings. This is the proposed layout, and this is the new Muga, and this is the new 2-storey classroom block proposed. And that's the 2 floor plans, for ground and first floor plan of the proposed block, and those are the elevations of the block. This application is part of Hillingdon's ongoing school expansion programme and would enable the expansion of the school from 1 form of entry to 2 forms, allowing them to cater a total of 460 pupils. The proposal includes an internal reconfiguration of the existing building, such that it would provide for an expanded nursery and for years 1 and 2, and the new building would be occupied by years 3 through to 6. The proposal fully complies with the aims of the MPPF, London Plan policy, and our own local policy. Furthermore, whilst it would result in some loss of playing field, it is considered that provision of alternative high-quality sporting facilities and improvements to existing drainage would be of sufficient benefit to sport as to outweigh this loss. Sport England have confirmed that they have no objections subject to the community access being proposed to new sports facilities. Sport England have left it to the Council to agree the level of community access that should be provided. The Sport England's comments are set out in the addendum. The proposal is supported by a detailed transport assessment and provides for mitigation measures to reduce its impact on the local highway network. The Council's highway engineer has reviewed this information in detail and confirmed that the proposed development will be acceptable in terms of traffic impact, pedestrian and highway safety. It is noted that the school currently operates one of the borough's most effective school travel plans that has seen the number of pupils arriving by car drop to 33%. I've got a photo, that's the photo of the main entrance. There's a photo across the playing ground, that's the existing school building. It's the existing playing field, so you can see the relationship with the houses around it. And this is a picture taken on Monday of this week during the PM peak, showing Old Hatch Manor, showing that there is reasonable capacity on the street. There are some spaces there. And the proposal is considered to comply with the relevant UDP and London Plan policies, and accordingly it is recommended that the application be approved. Thank you.
And there is an addendum with some tidying up, including the Sporting comments, yes?
Yes.
Right, Councillor Higgins?
I think this is a good proposal, and I would go with offers a recommendation. I don't know whether others would like to say anything, but...
seeing the other hands move, so I'm hoping that everyone's fairly content.
Yep.
Seconder then, please. Thank you, Councillor Curling. All those in favour, please clearly show. That one's unanimously approved. Thank you very much. I now move to item 7, Berkeley Park Apartments, Marlborough Crescent, Harlington.
This application relates to Berkeley Park Apartments, an apartment hotel complex located on Marlborough Crescent, just behind the Bath Road in Harlington. Planning permission is sought for the change of use of the existing apart hotel to a homeless persons hostel. And this is a constraints map. You can see there's a green belt behind it. That's the existing site plan. Aerial photo. And this is the existing layout. So you can see there's 3 blocks, two of them linked, well actually 4 blocks, 3 of them linked. The site currently contains three-storey pitched and hipped roof brick buildings, which house 50 studio and 1-bed serviced apartments. No alterations are proposed to the external appearance of the building or to the landscaping. There are 28 existing car parking spaces. That's the elevations. That's the photo of the existing building. There are 28 existing parking spaces, 5 of which are located outside the gates for visitors. 3 of the spaces are for disabled parking. As part of the proposal, 1 of the existing car parking spaces will be reallocated for motorcycle parking, as requested by the Council's Highways Engineer. No objections have been raised on highways grounds, and a condition is recommended to ensure the proposal meets secured by design standards. The existing complex already provides temporary accommodation. As such, proposed use of the site to provide temporary accommodation for homeless persons is considered to be acceptable. Borough's change of use is therefore considered to accord with relevant policy and is recommended for approval. Thank you. And there is an addendum correcting some of the conditions.
Councillor Higgins?
I don't really have any issue with this, but it's a separate issue, but I suppose I'm going to mention it because it irritates me. This motorcycle, is there actually a need for it? I mean, are we actually putting this because there's a need, or are we just putting it because it's what we do?
Well, our standards are for every 20 car parking spaces we have 1 motorcycle space, and
Fair enough.
so yeah.
How many spaces is it for us to have electric car power point?
It's 5% spaces, I believe. In residential, it's 10 and 10. 10 passive, 10 active. So a total of 20. Sorry. Mike, please. So for residential type development, C use is it's 10% passive, 10% active for EV. That's according to TfL GLA standards.
And in fact, on the residential schemes, we do see them.
Yes, I would just like us to sort of have it sort of the other way round, really.
Possibly you would. Has anybody got any issues on this? Can we go back to the scheme in question, please? Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I think that it's already in temporary accommodation because they're serviced apartments. I know them. And so I don't really see that there's very much difference, and there is a pressing need. If it's going to be for homeless people, are they going to be Hillingdon homeless people, or is it just a private enterprise and it will be up to us to approach
I have
people?
a feeling that maybe
the applicant is basically Hillingdon Council, so I think that's the best answer I can give to that question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. It's obviously then in response to the local need, which I think we all know about, so I think it's welcome. Thank
Please clearly show. That one's approved. Thank you very much. Items 8 and 9 relate to the same site and it is in fact a minor change which the officer will explain to us what it is.
Yes, we've already granted. The site is a Grade 2 listed building called Harefield Place, located in 3.5 hectares of greenbelt and landscaped grounds. It's the aerial photo. That's the building as it is. Until 2012, it was headquarters of Blockbuster Video. They've obviously gone bust. We've already granted permission to knock down a modern extension and refurbish and convert that building and build a new extension. That's the existing permission. There's a basement car park already approved. This application proposes a minor amendment to the basement only. It's actually reducing it in size by 27%. However, they've got a more efficient layout, so the number of spaces remains the same. No changes to the exterior of the building, and we're recommending approval on both applications.
27% or 27 square metres?
27 square metres, I beg your pardon.
All right, different. Councillor Higgins.
I think this is fine. I think it's a win-win, actually. So I would go with officer's recommendation.
Yeah. All those in favour, please clearly show for item 8. Can I take the same proposal and seconder for item 9? All those in favour, please clearly show. Thank you. Those two are approved. I now move to the last item, which is item 10, the former West Drayton Police Station.
Planning permission is sought for a residential redevelopment of 53 units involving the demolition of all existing buildings on the former West Drayton Police Station site, comprising a 4-storey block of 40 flats fronting Station Road and 13 3-storey houses to be located to the rear of the site, together with associated car parking, access and landscaping. This is a revision of a scheme granted permission in 2016 for 43 units, comprising a block of 31 flats with 12 houses located to the rear. That's a constraints map. That's the layout of the current proposal. So that's the 4-storey block of 40 flats located to the front of the site. That's Station Road along there. And these are the 13 3-storey houses proposed. They're actually in pairs. So there's 12 of them are semi-detached houses with one detached house. That's the basement car park layout. The site plan and floor plans, more detailed floor plans, and that's elevations of the so that's the third floor roof plan, and that's the elevation of the front block. More elevations, some floor plans, and that's the 3-storey townhouses. So it's a contemporary interpretation of a townhouse. The entire site is located within the West Drayton Green Conservation Area and within an archaeological priority area. Drayton Hall, which abuts the site to the north, is a Grade 2 listed building. The principle of residential development and the loss of the former police station on this site has already been established with existing permission. The Mayor's Office for Policing and Crime has disposed of the site on the basis that it is surplus to requirements and replacement facilities have been provided within the vicinity, which adequately meet the policing needs of the local population. In addition, the site has been marketed since 2012, but no alternative community-based operators have expressed any interest in acquiring the site for that purpose. The proposed scheme would be within the London Plan density guidelines, providing good internal and external living space. There are 66 car parking spaces, 66 cycle spaces, and 6 motorcycle parking spaces proposed, which match the ratio of car parking and cycle parking agreed in the previous scheme, 1 space per flat and 2 spaces per house. The proposed layout would not have an inverse impact on the living and conditions of surrounding occupiers in terms of over-dominance, loss of privacy or loss of daylight sunlight. It is considered that the scale and layout of the proposed development would be acceptable in terms of its impact on the conservation area. There are no adverse impacts on ecology or archaeology. Highway and pedestrian impacts are considered to be acceptable, as are flood and drainage issues, which can be addressed by suitable conditions. All internal consultees are supportive of the application. A viable level of affordable housing provision has been agreed at 22%. It's not covered in the addendum, but we think condition 20, covering noise, requires greater clarity. Can I ask members agree that the second sentence in that condition be amended to say the scheme should indicate LAEQT and LA max noise levels? So we're striking out some of that sentence just to make it a bit clearer. So subject to that amendment and the other amendments and conditions set out in the addendum and report, and subject to a 106 and 278 agreement, we're recommending approval. Thank you.
Okay, I'll open this one for debate. Councillor Higgins, you can start me off. Councillor Duncan.
Thank you, Chair. I note.
Wait for Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, I noticed that the West Drayton Conservation Area are unhappy with this. They hope permission won't be granted. I think that's difficult given the fact that there's already an approval on this site. But one of the things they do ask is that the listed walls, it doesn't show how the listed walls are to be protected. Can I ask officers about that, please? I haven't seen it in any condition.
There's a wall. Isn't there a wall within this site? There is a listed wall somewhere in this.
Well, I mean, there's no corresponding listed building consent. What are you on?
If I'm going to hold for 2 minutes. It's unusual, but we've got time tonight. And otherwise, I'm going to end up deferring it. And I don't really want to do that. So I think the applicant probably can clarify.
So page 205 in the members' plan pack gives clarification on wall details. So I was just asking my colleague. So there is a plan which would form part of the approved plans, which clearly indicates the details that would be retained.
Hang on. 138 of the report talks about listed walls. Buildings and listed walls. Happy with the proposed treatment.
I mean, I'm aware that this issue has been covered through this planning application. I think, as you say, Chairman, it is covered on page 135.
Yeah, I knew I'd read it somewhere. It was just a question of where finding it for a second. So I think that covers the point as to which bits are being retained. Some openings are being put in, but it does explain how it's being done.
We are tying those issues into the condition 2 in accordance with the plans. So I guess the question for councillors is are you happy for those issues to be covered in the accordance with the plans condition, or do you want a separate planning condition that covers it in slightly more detail?
I'm going to preempt and say my preference, having seen the issue raised, would be that it is in a separate planning condition, because it's very easy to have it slipped in the middle of the plans and then it kind of get overlooked.
I was anticipating that.
I thought you might. I thought you might. Because at least if it's specific, then it's absolutely clear to everybody what we're saying. Whereas the other way, it kind of gets lost in 30 pages. Could I suggest? I'm sure we're happy to delegate the head of planning to come up with a suitable planning condition, but we won't ask him to do it here and now. Agreed. Does that cover your point, Councillor Duncan? Any other points? No. All right. You were proposing as amended and as amended by the addendum, and I have a second. Councillor Curling, why not? All those in favour, please clearly show. That one's unanimously approved. Thank you very much indeed. At 6:20 we close.